Today, we're counting down 15 of the most unique and overall best small towns in Tennessee. From a lake that was literally created by an earthquake to a town where you can't legally buy the world's most famous whiskey, even though it's made right there. The Volunteer State has some wild stories to tell. Number 15. Nameless. Tucked away in Jackson County, about 90 minutes northeast of Nashville, is a community with the most unusual name in Tennessee. Nameless, population around 200, got its name in the most fitting way possible. Back in the early 1800s, locals couldn't agree on what to call their settlement. When they finally submitted Morganville to the post office, it was rejected because another Tennessee town already had that name. When the post office asked what to call it instead, the residents essentially said, "We don't know, we're nameless." And so, Nameless it became. Today, there's not much here besides a community center that used to be a 2-room schoolhouse. But for people who love weird Americana, stopping here just to take a photo with the town sign is worth the detour. Number 14. Mountain City. Way up in the northeastern corner of the state sits Mountain City, population around 2,400, and it holds a record no other incorporated town in Tennessee can claim. At 2,418 feet above sea level, this is the highest incorporated city in the entire state. It's the county seat of Johnson County and surrounded by rugged Appalachian wilderness. The Doe Mountain Recreation Area offers over 60 miles of trails through 8,600 acres of forest. Every July, the town hosts the Mountain City Sunflower Festival, and in October, the Mountain City Fiddlers Convention draws bluegrass enthusiasts from across the region. If you want mountain air and authentic Appalachian culture without the tourist crowds, this is your spot. Number 13. Ducktown. In the far southeastern corner of Tennessee, where the state borders Georgia and North Carolina, you'll find Ducktown, population around 500. Despite what the name suggests, it wasn't named after the bird. Local legend says the name comes from a Cherokee chief called Chief Duck, who lived in the area. What makes Ducktown truly fascinating is its industrial past. This was once one of the largest copper mining districts in the nation. The mining was so intense that by the early 1900s, sulfuric acid fumes from the smelters had killed virtually every tree and plant for miles around, creating a lunar-like landscape called the Red Hills. Today, nature has slowly reclaimed much of the land, but the Ducktown Basin Museum tells the full story of how this tiny town helped fuel America's Industrial Revolution. Number 12. South Pittsburg. Along the Tennessee River in Marion County sits South Pittsburg, population around 3,000, and this town takes cornbread very seriously. Every April, South Pittsburg hosts the National Cornbread Festival, the only major event in the country dedicated exclusively to cornbread. We're talking competitive cooking, cornbread recipe contests, and all the southern fixins you can eat. But the town's real claim to fame is Lodge Cast Iron. That cast iron skillet in your grandmother's kitchen? There's a good chance it came from here. Lodge has been making cast iron cookware in South Pittsburg since 1896, and the Lodge Museum of Cast Iron shows off the company's history with original molds, factory equipment, and more. The factory store sells everything at discount prices. Number 11. Wartrace. In Bedford County, about an hour southeast of Nashville, sits the tiny town of Wartrace, population around 650. The name comes from Native American trails that passed through here, and Andrew Jackson himself supposedly carved, "This is War Trail Creek," on a tree in the area. But Wartrace is famous for something much more elegant. This is known as the cradle of the Tennessee walking horse. In the 1920s and 30s, local horsemen bred these magnificent animals right here, developing that distinctive, smooth gait they're famous for. The first Tennessee walking horse national celebration was held in Wartrace in 1939, before moving to nearby Shelbyville. The Tennessee Walking Horse National Museum now occupies a historic building downtown, and the Walking Horse Hotel still stands. Named after the famous Strolling Jim, the first world grand champion, who is actually buried behind the hotel. Number 10. Paris. About 120 miles west of Nashville, there's a small town that decided if you can't visit France, bring France to Tennessee. Paris, population around 10,000, is the oldest incorporated town in West Tennessee, named after the French capital to honor the Marquis de Lafayette. And yes, they have their own Eiffel Tower. The 70-foot replica stands in Memorial Park and makes for surprisingly good photo opportunities. But Paris has another claim to fame that might actually be bigger than the tower. Every April, the town hosts the world's biggest fish fry, a week-long festival dating back to 1938 that serves over 12,000 pounds of catfish. It started as Mule Day, when farmers would gather to trade mules. But when tractors replaced mules, they pivoted to catfish, and it's been growing ever since. Number 9. Hohenwald. In Lewis County, about 85 miles southwest of Nashville, sits Hohenwald, a name that means high forest in German. Population around 3,700. The German settlers who founded it in the 1870s would probably never have guessed that today Hohenwald would be famous for elephants. The Elephant Sanctuary in Tennessee, the nation's largest natural habitat refuge for elephants, operates on over 3,000 acres just outside town. These are retired elephants from zoos and circuses who now live out their days in peace. You can't visit the elephants directly, since the whole point is giving them privacy. But the Elephant Discovery Center downtown offers educational exhibits and live camera feeds so you can watch them roaming freely. It's a surprisingly moving experience for such a small town. Number 8. Rugby. Deep in the Cumberland Plateau, near the Morgan and Scott County line, sits one of America's strangest failed experiments. Rugby, population around 75, was founded in 1880 by British author Thomas Hughes, who wrote the famous novel Tom Brown's School Days. Hughes had a utopian vision: create a class-free agricultural community for the younger sons of English aristocracy who couldn't inherit land back home. He brought British settlers to this remote Tennessee wilderness to build a cooperative society. At its peak, about 350 people lived here in beautiful Victorian buildings. They had tennis courts, croquet lawns, and a library stocked with first-edition Victorian novels that's still there today. But the colony failed within years. A typhoid epidemic, poor soil, and settlers who had no idea how to actually farm spelled disaster. Today, over 20 original Victorian buildings remain, and historic Rugby offers tours of this fascinating time capsule of a failed utopia. Number 7. Bell Buckle. About an hour south of Nashville sits Bell Buckle, population under 500, with one of the quirkiest names in the state. Legend says early settlers found a tree with a carving that looked like a cowbell and buckle, possibly a warning from Cherokee people that the settlers were encroaching on their land. The entire downtown is on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's become a haven for antique shops, artisan crafts, and vintage stores. But the main event happens every third Saturday of June, the R.C. Cola Moon Pie Festival. This celebration of the South's original fast food draws thousands to enjoy ice-cold RC colas, moon pies, live music, a parade, and competitions you won't find anywhere else. The Bell Buckle Cafe serves moon pie sundaes year-round for those who can't wait for June. Number 6. Tiptonville. In the far northwestern corner of Tennessee, right on the Mississippi River, sits Tiptonville, population around 4,000. The town itself is pleasant enough, but what makes this area extraordinary is Real Foot Lake, Tennessee's only natural lake, and the story of how it was created is almost hard to believe. In the winter of 1811 to 1812, a series of massive earthquakes, some estimated at magnitude 8.0, struck the New Madrid Fault. The ground shook so violently that the Mississippi River temporarily flowed backwards. Land east of the river sank, water rushed in, and practically overnight, an 18,000-acre lake appeared where forest had stood the day before. Today, Real Foot Lake is famous for its haunting bald cypress trees rising from the shallow water and its winter population of bald eagles. The Real Foot Lake State Park offers eagle tours every winter, and the fishing is some of the best in the state. Number 5. Dayton in Rhea County. Between Knoxville and Chattanooga sits Dayton, population around 7,500. In 1925, this small Tennessee town became the center of one of the most famous trials in American history. A group of local businessmen, hoping to boost tourism to their struggling town, deliberately staged a legal case. They convinced teacher John Scopes to admit to teaching evolution in violation of Tennessee's Butler Act, just so the trial could happen in Dayton. What they got was the Scopes Monkey Trial, with superstar lawyers Clarence Darrow and William Jennings Bryan facing off in the sweltering courthouse. The trial was broadcast nationally on radio, the first to ever receive such coverage. Dayton became a circus, with trained chimpanzees on Main Street and vendors selling monkey souvenirs. Bryan died just 5 days after the trial ended. The Rhea County Courthouse still stands, now a National Historic Landmark, and they hold reenactments of the trial every year. Number 4. Sweetwater. In Monroe County, about 50 miles south of Knoxville, sits Sweetwater, population around 6,300. The town got its name from the sweet-tasting freshwater springs early settlers found here. But the real attraction lies 140 feet underground. The Lost Sea, located in Craighead Caverns just outside town, is the largest underground lake in America and the second largest in the world. A 13-year-old boy named Ben Sands discovered it in 1905 when drought lowered the water level enough to reveal a connecting passage. He threw mud balls into the darkness and just heard splashes, with no idea how far the water extended. Divers have since mapped over 13 acres of underwater rooms, and they still haven't found the end. You can take a glass-bottom boat tour across the visible 4.5-acre section, feeding the rainbow trout that live in the constant 58-degree water. The caverns also hold fossils of a Pleistocene jaguar, discovered in 1939. Number 3. Adams. In Robertson County, about 40 miles north of Nashville, sits the small town of Adams, population around 600. This might be the most haunted place in America, and Tennessee is the only state that has officially attributed someone's death to the supernatural. The Bell Witch legend began in 1817, when farmer John Bell and his family began experiencing terrifying events. An invisible entity that could speak, shapeshift, and physically attack people tormented the family for years. It particularly targeted John Bell and his daughter Betsy, and when John died in 1820, a mysterious vial of poison was found that no one could explain. The entity supposedly announced, "I gave him that." Even future President Andrew Jackson reportedly visited to investigate and fled after one night. The Bell Witch Cave on the original property is one of the only original features still standing, and thousands visit Adams every year hoping to experience something paranormal. The Bell Witch Fall Festival runs for 5 weeks each autumn. Number 2. Jonesborough. In the far northeastern corner of Tennessee sits Jonesborough, population around 5,900, and this place has serious bragging rights. Founded in 1779, this is Tennessee's oldest town, established 17 years before Tennessee even became a state. It was named after Willie Jones, a North Carolina legislator who supported Western expansion. For a brief moment, it was even the capital of an independent nation. In 1784, settlers broke away from North Carolina and founded the state of Franklin, with Jonesborough as its capital. The state only lasted until 1788, but the history remains. Today, the entire historic district looks like stepping back in time, with buildings dating to the 1700s still standing. But Jonesborough's modern fame comes from something unexpected: storytelling. Since 1973, the town has hosted the National Storytelling Festival every October, drawing over 15,000 visitors to hear master storytellers from around the world. The International Storytelling Center here makes Jonesborough the storytelling capital of the world. Number 1. Lynchburg. And at number 1, tucked in the hills of Moore County in south-central Tennessee, sits what might be the most ironic small town in America. Lynchburg, population around 6,500, is home to the Jack Daniel's Distillery, the oldest registered distillery in the United States, founded in 1866. Every single drop of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey is made right here, and over 300,000 visitors tour the distillery every year. Here's the twist: Moore County is a dry county. You cannot legally buy a bottle of Jack Daniel's in the town where it's made. Well, there's one exception. In 1995, the state allowed the distillery gift shop to sell commemorative bottles. But order a Jack and Coke at a local restaurant? Impossible. Jack Daniel himself died in 1911 after kicking his safe in frustration when he couldn't remember the combination. He broke his toe, it got infected, and it killed him. Today, you can tour the limestone cave spring that provides the iron-free water for the whiskey, see the charcoal mellowing process that makes Tennessee whiskey different from bourbon, and visit Miss Mary Bobo's boarding house for traditional Southern cooking. Just don't expect to wash it down with the local product unless you're at the distillery. And there you have it, 15 interesting small towns in Tennessee. If you've ever been to any of these, or want to, share your stories in the comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. Apparently, that's important. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.